It's the Undressed Show. Yes, it's Wednesday night. Undressed, recorded in front of a semi-live audience at Conroy's Emporium, where you can catch anything your heart desires. Hello, my fellow Undressed. My name's Jeremy Taylor, and welcome to the talk show that pretends to care. We're getting hundreds of hits every day on the Undressed website. This proves conclusively that folk who watch porn are a discriminating bunch. No, we're not naked. Well, not entirely. Our Undressed panel tonight, back from his castle in those dark Bulgarian mountain ranges. The Prince of Pheromones, Count Ivo Ivanov. Oh, yes. The Mistress of Scary Intelligence, Kathleen Taylor. And then international consultant on interesting to the most interesting people of the world, Dr. Orlando.
What's up?
Our guests tonight, Chris Magerkurth. He's an aerospace engineer, and he's currently working on the rover project to Tonganoxie. Tyler Durden's with us again. He's recently been turned over by Ronda Rousey, and he's come here because, well, this is where you come, Conroy's, isn't it, when something goes wrong?
My man.
So let's get on, and with as much unfeeling unction that my intestinal fortitude can muster, I have to ask, where is the owner of this Emporium, Conroy? Nowhere to be seen. Excellent, and I can share he was having trouble with the contrast on his TVs in the bar. Every time Trump comes on, he tries to adjust the contrast until it was explained to him that Trump really is that colour. Honestly.
I don't like these color jokes.
No, serious now. Honestly, President Obama had to point out to Trump the other day that he was not being literal when he mentioned orange is the new black. Yes, you're listening.
Jeremy. Damn.
You're listening to Wednesday Night Undressed.com, recorded partially alive at Conroy's Pub and Emporium in Lawrence, Kansas. The Dodo. I'm feeling that I'm about to become a dodo. Why do I feel more comfortable using the telephone on my desk that has a springy cord attached to the handset than my cell phone? Why do I feel comfortable wearing my German-made satellite solar-driven wristwatch? Am I wrong to prefer a paper book to my Kindle? Are emails on the way out perhaps going the same way of snail mail? Don't get me going on the electronics of my car.
Okay, let's just start with the fact that you are wrong.
We always start with that fact.
Yes.
There's no need to even state that. That's given.
It's a given. I know. All right.
For example, you mentioned we get hundreds of hits every week, and by hits you mean hits from random people on the street.
That's right.
Listeners who see us on the street.
I have the bruises to prove
Disappointed
it.
to find out it's not a porn show.
Yeah, you
But
thought,
what can I say?
Lewis was black and blue by, nature.
Not just black.
Yeah.
And to point out, the correct title is the Lord of the Pheromones.
Lord of
Not
Pheromones.
the Prince of the
Prince.
Pheromones.
But I thought you were a count. I thought you were a Bulgarian count. A
I
bit
don't-
like Count Dracula.
The Lord. Just
Lord.
call me Lord.
Okay, the
So
Lord.
you're
Oh, Lord.
You're waxing nostalgic about stuff that are going away, like the wristwatch. The wristwatches will be gone, right? There will be a thing.
Not mine.
It's
Not this one.
People don't need wristwatches anymore. Everybody has a phone.
Yeah, but people didn't
Is it like
need-
jewelry?
I think it
some
has
sense, yeah.
always served as jewelry, and I think that it will make a cyclic return to being a primarily jewelry piece, in much the same way that right now headphones, the big ass Beats by Dre headphones are a status
that's
symbol.
made a comeback.
They've already made a comeback in the form of smartwatches.
Sure,
I
smartwatch.
have my
What
Galaxy
use is that
Gear.
watch where you can't actually see it? I mean, at least with my watch, you can actually see the hands. There aren't any hands on that watch.
because I have
here's
them
the
turned
thing.
off.
Here's the thing.
You can
Lewis,
have hands.
I would agree with Lewis as far as his smartwatch is concerned, because people, they don't want crap in their pockets. They want it easily accessible. They want it easily just right there. And God forbid I got to spend half a second digging in my pocket trying to find my phone.
Yeah.
But look, all I got to do is boom, boom, it's right there on my wrist. So,
You've been watching that Australian bloke on the film, wasn't it? The Australian guy, who, when the tourists were there, they said, "What time is it?" And he'd already looked, and they thought he was very clever. Or the guy,
Crocodile
when the guy
Dundee.
drives past him and he says, "What time is it?" and he puts his hand on the udder of a cow, and he feels the udder of the cow, right? And he says it's 3:55. then the guy comes back because he can't believe this. He puts his hand on the udder again, and he says it's 4:05. He says, "How do you know that?" He said, "Well, if I move the udder, I can see the clock tower." No, come on, now be serious. Let's ask our new guest.
There's some things that I definitely will miss from like the 1980s.
Well, you're Bulgarian.
Samantha
You're missing
Fox.
sailing
Samantha
people.
Fox.
My children?
Yeah,
Samantha
80s,
Fox,
90s,
yeah.
70s. You know, but there's some things that are better gone. You know, one thing I was thinking about was
Samantha Fox's boobs.
No,
We need those around.
basketball players' tiny little shorts. I'm so glad those are gone.
I'm not.
Really?
Really?
You wanted to watch you wanted to be able to tell somebody's religion as they were playing basketball?
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, Spud Webb didn't feel that way with Moses Malone's packaging his face the entire time.
John
Okay.
That's
Stockton
the
loves
price
it.
you pay for sports.
Let's
That's
say you
the price
watch
you
women's
pay.
volleyball when they're in long shorts.
Beach volleyball is something.
Beach volleyball.
Yeah.
From
We don't
another-
watch women's volleyball. We watch beach,
Beach
volleyball.
volleyball. Oh, it's great, great athleticism.
I want to take us back to Chris, who's our space engineer. What do you think about wearing? You're not wearing a watch today, are you? No, you're not. No,
I'm not wearing a watch.
What do you think about this?
It shows on the lenses of his glasses.
Oh, you have it in the glasses, right?
No, no.
How cool.
I don't even own a cell phone. I've never owned a cell phone. The closest I get to any kind of digital device is my iPad. So,
You are my
Very,
hero.
very afraid right now.
I think you're right in a sense. We're all eventually going to become dodos. I mean, most of this stuff will be swept away, in 1,000, 10,000 years. What I think is most important, really, what I triggered off of your topic was the fact that all of this stuff is really just distractions for us, and it's keeping us from becoming a more collective society on the planet, which we need because in order to survive as a species, we're going to have to leave the planet eventually because the sun's going to go big and it's going to consume the earth, and if we don't leave it, human beings will be no more.
There's no gotta. I want to leave the planet.
Let's
make that happen sooner rather than later.
What time it is that the planet's going to come to an end, won't we?
My iPad has a watch. My car has a watch. My computer is a watch. I have, I had a watch at my desk at work when I worked at Cessna.
Well, you've got a good point that we have become such a consumer-oriented society. We used to need to buy things that we needed. Now we need to buy things. So there was supply and demand, right? And the demand answered the supply. Now the supply is generating artificial demand.
Yep.
It's demand
Yeah,
that's not needed.
that's true.
And I found out a funny. A kind of a funny relationship between the size of the television and us. I realized the thinner our television sets get, the fatter we get. The bigger we get. Have you noticed this? There's a direct
going out and buying
direct correlation. Buy a giant TV,
One of those big
fat
50s cabinet,
Exactly.
that had a
and you're
stereo
gonna-
in it, and
you're
You burn a
gonna
lot of
lose weight
calories
immediately.
having those things around.
That's true.
Another ironic correlation I noticed. We see each other face to face less and less, and we read less and less books, all because of something called Facebook. Isn't that interesting?
Actually, Evo brings up a very good point, because if you think about it, technology is evolving so fast, it's evolving faster than us as a species. And now technology is evolving us. It's now controlling our own evolution. It's evolving us.
That is a very
And
good point.
Making us change the way we behave and the way we act.
Oh yeah, it's changing the wiring of our brain.
It
It's
is, very much
changing the
so.
central nervous system.
Very much so.
Eventually, as we're moving closer and closer to the nanoscale in terms of manufacturing chips, they're going to.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
But what did you just say?
Well, it's obvious, the Moore's law. It's not really a law.
Could you
Moore's
speak
law.
English? I know it's difficult
Well,
for you.
Well, more
In a way that everybody
remember,
else
yeah.
can understand. I mean.
He's talking
I
about
can't
how
really
fast
understand
computer
you,
chips
Brit
are.
mofo.
Yeah.
Guys, you got to remember Jeremy's old, so you
Yeah.
got to explain this slowly.
Moore's law is not as much a law as it's a tendency, right? It
Yeah.
states that every 6 months the processing power of a computer chip will double in capacity and shrink in size twice. So it's
18
getting
months.
Yeah, 18
I
months.
thought this was like of pirates. It's more a set of guidelines than a set of rules.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's a tendency. So the smaller and smaller, and there's no end to it because we're now manufacturing materials on a nano scale. And it's actually outpacing the Moore's law.
Again, Jeremy's old. What do you mean when you say nanoscale?
Nanoscale, we're talking
Really,
about 1
really,
millionth.
really small.
1 millionth of a
Smaller
millimeter.
than an inch.
Yeah,
Way
I mean,
smaller, yeah.
yeah, it's smaller than Conroy's. Let's not go into it.
And that's small.
But what's going to happen is they're getting smaller and smaller. Eventually, it will be so easy to integrate those chips into our beings, into your central nervous system. Children can have.
I love the way you held your left nipple then when you were.
Yes, I have one in my left nipple. Yeah, psst, I push it and I connect with China.
It's an obvious button.
But
China, hold on. Where's the NSA?
but what I'm saying is, it's inevitable. In 100 years, at the age of 2, it's going to be like a vaccine. We're going to have implants. We're going to connect with each other. Right now, to send a message, we write messages on the phone, right? You have to formulate a thought in your head. You have to type it. Then you have to push send. It's going to be received by somebody else on the other side of the world. They will read it and process it and understand it. In the future, in about 100 years, you will do the whole thing in your brain. You will connect to it.
It's further along than that.
Yeah.
Are you actually still typing on your little screen when you send
Well,
a
yeah,
text?
exactly. People were speaking it. So what I'm saying is it's going to be instantaneous. This, guys, is the definition of telepathy. We will have technological telepathy in about 100 years, maybe even sooner than that.
Moore's law dictates it's going to be much
sooner.
Yeah.
So we will move into territory, and you're right, evolution. We will evolve. Our brains will evolve. We'll change the way. Imagine.
I'm going to get
People
a
will
grandkid
communicate.
that's born with a USB slot.
And in about 100 years.
No, that's just an asshole.
In about 100 years, people will do exactly. Society will do exactly what it's doing now. We will have people that will not talk to each other.
Yeah. Can we just take a quick break and go back and congratulate Tyler on that extremely beneficial little slot there?
Yeah, I do what I
It's
can.
just an arsehole.
I do
was
what I
just-
can.
But saying this, there was
USB
a guy in Australia, and this was 15 years ago or 10 years ago. He had his finger amputated in an industrial accident, and he had a USB drive put instead of a finger. And so he was the first guy with a 2 gigabyte finger, and it was great because he would just transfer files by pushing, putting his finger into the USB slot. So it's happening.
Forbid it, she gets stuck or something.
But my Bulgarian friend, when you're back at your castle, up in the mountains
count.
there, you like to read a newspaper.
I
And
love
is that
newspapers, and
is
it's
that
gonna
the
be
oldest thing in the planet now? Newspapers, do we like to? I'm just interested. Do we like to read newspapers? I know Evo does.
I love the
I do.
newspapers.
Yes,
Where
I
else
do.
can we find
Kathleen
recipe for
likes-
roasted radishes?
And they
Okay.
will be gone.
Depends on the paper. I like reading the Sunday Times, but
But
They-
do you, my
local
question
papers,
is,
I
do you
haven't read
like
that
to
much.
read it as a newspaper?
yes,
Or as a off your?
The comics are no good.
You
on
like the
screen.
paper and the ink.
I like the feel. I like
fees-
the smell. I like
Yeah.
the sound.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie to you. I like the privacy of it. I'm serious.
Right.
When I have a paper in front of my
Yep.
face and I've got it spread out and I'm reading,
Plus-
I have the privacy of I'm away and I'm disconnected from others around me, and I know I'm not going to be distracted by them because they see me reading a paper and they're going to leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I mean,
It's
I
fantastic.
love reading a paper because in a sense, it's a chance to have alone time. It's just some quiet time to myself without telling people, hey, get the hell away from me.
I never
Until your
thought
phone
of that.
rings and
That's
you-
a great idea. Not to mention, if you're a spy, you can always cut a little hole in the middle of the
Yeah.
newspaper and look through it and spy on people.
that's not obvious.
Also, have you tried to wipe your ass with an iPad?
Doesn't work.
Doesn't
We're
work
not
so
going to
It
answer
good.
just
that.
doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I'll tell you.
But newspapers will be
But that's
gone.
where a USB port goes.
Good. But hey, our generation, the last generation that has loyalty to paper, our kids reading. Do you think they're going to be reading and looking for newspapers?
Right
They-
now, the tendency is that kids in high school and college actually prefer paper books.
Yeah,
That is
vinyl's
true.
making a comeback, or at least it never went away.
And the
it's-
local school board has decided that it's going to go and buy 1,000 iPads or something.
And I think this brings up a bigger point, because you brought this up earlier. It seems to be with your disdain of feeling like a dodo. I think there's a bigger picture that, in a sense, one generation is beginning to kind of feel like a Luddite and just say no to technology and get the hell away from me, and you're changing the world too fast. And now that we see the youth kind of jumping on board and doing that as well, I think it's very fascinating. And it's very telling as far as what Evo was talking about. I could see that possibility coming up, but I could also see with the youth kind of going back to vinyl and paper books, what have you, I could see them kind of just giving the middle finger to technology.
You see, in my case, I'm desperately sad in some ways because my aged mother, when she was 19, she was working on aircraft with Americans and Brits. She was a Wren during the war, towards the end of the war, on the electronics of these airplanes. And I say electronics, I don't mean, funny stuff, I mean the electronics. But she went on to be a radiographer, right? But she was frightened of email. And because she was frightened of email back in the late 90s, she doesn't have a relationship with her grandchildren. Because they live in a different country.
Yeah.
And of all the people who aged 19 or 20 or 21 would have embraced email, nothing spectacular, just embraced email, you would think that she would be the granny that does. And whereas grannies who didn't, who maybe worked somewhere else.
The granny that
Mr.
does.
Taylor, can you actually go into a little bit of explanation as to what a Wren is? Because we're all American here.
Oh, I'm sorry. A Wren is a Navy, a female Navy person.
From what
From
decade?
Great Britain.
Royal
From
Air
the
Force
40s.
Sisters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, I found the other day something that me and Louis brought to Bulgaria about 10 years ago, and it was cutting edge back then. It was one of the very first iPods. And I found it in my closet, and it's it's probably thicker than my wallet, and had a scroll wheel. Remember the scroll wheel? And this now is archaic. It's almost like I felt like an archaeologist.
Again, like
feel the
technology
same
moving
way.
at a faster clip than you can even be aware. I mean,
Yeah.
think about the number of phones that come out and how quickly they come out and how.
Oh,
I mean, you buy a phone and boom, in 3 months it's obsolete.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And
Tyler-
who would have thought that they would become members of our families?
So Tyler,
it's-
you raise a hella interesting point. There's one place, I don't even remember where I read it from, but the general gist of the article was that the term nostalgia is only about 50 years old. Like, technology moves so slowly 50 years ago that the notion that you would miss something from the past was non-existent. And that just blew my mind. That completely just blew my mind.
Is there anything?
Mikey doesn't wear a watch.
Not right
Clearly,
now.
he
Not
doesn't
right
wear
now.
a watch. He receives actually messages from satellites onto his bald head.
Mikey!
Did you not know that? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
It's
Don't laugh.
classified. It's
He
classified.
doesn't wear. He doesn't wear a wristwatch.
He doesn't, no.
He has a different kind of watch.
He
It's called
does.
penis watch.
Yeah.
No, they call it crotch watch.
Mark,
It always
Mark,
shows noon.
Do you ever feel like
That's my Fitbit. It fits on my bits.
Oh, really?
No, I think it's interesting that maybe I'm not a dodo. I don't know, maybe I am. It's just that you worry sometimes that one's getting really old.
Is there anything you guys miss from 20 years ago, like one by one? Can we do that? Like Louis, is there anything you really miss? Any kind of technology or?
No, 20 years ago, I was really frustrated with the level of technology. Like, there were, quite honestly, things that I would dream about being able to do, like being able to walk around on the internet with my laptop. So, I'm going to segue from what you just asked to bring up a notion of what Jeremy just asked.
Yeah.
I think that what we're going to see is that the dodos are the people that are not cognizant of the fact that things are in this constant state of change and constant state of flux. I think that when you talk about your mother, who actually worked with technology and somehow let that get away from her,
And
at
the
some
very
point,
latest technology.
Louis,
That's
I
the
disagree
point.
with that. No, I think the dodos are the ones who see it, and they're trying every way to fight it, and that's why they have this kind of disdain for it. That's why they kind of have this, again, this kind of Luddite opinion of it, because that's the only thing they can do to attack it.
I can get behind that. I can go along with that. So, sort of just making that real quick answer and then segueing back into your point. I embrace pretty much every new technology to the constant frustration of my wife. But my kids are like me in that there's pretty much nothing that you can show them that they don't automatically pick up on.
Yeah.
So for me, there's nothing that I missed from 20 years ago.
Okay.
There's nothing really that I miss. And kind of going back to what they were going back and forth about, I don't really think that anything ever really goes away, particularly now with the internet and it freeing up people to connect, that niche markets will exist if we ever wrest a lot of control from the corporates, to have people who buy newspapers, who buy magazines, who buy vinyl, who buy all the old technology because they enjoy it, they enjoy interacting with it, and so nothing ever really goes away, in my opinion.
Okay.
So just to kind of bolster your point, have you seen the YouTube video of the artisanal pencil sharpening guy?
Yeah, I saw that long ago.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right,
I've listened to the artisanal toast.
If you guys haven't seen this, you need to check out.
What the heck is that?
There's an artisanal pencil sharpener. I will actually post a link on our webpage for
The
anybody that wants to
classic
see it.
advert at the moment that is, or it's on Facebook, is the girl asking her dad how he's getting on with the apps on the iPad that they gave him for Christmas, and he's actually using it as a vegetable chopper, and he then flushes
That's
the
a
thing
funny
off
one.
under the tap and puts it in the washing machine, and she just is completely aghast, and he's going, what? He doesn't understand. I think my regret of this is, you know, when Evo said just now, is there anything I miss from 20 years ago? 35 years ago, and I wonder whether anybody here will pick it up. Anybody in the room will pick it up. I miss points.
Points?
Points. Give you a clue.
Oh.
Cars.
No, they were horrible. They were like this atrocious, horrible thing to work with.
The point is you could work with them.
I can work with the car now.
No, you can't.
No, you
have
gotta
to
go
take
to the
it-
MIT first.
You have to go.
Yeah, you gotta plug it in first.
You have to go to a workshop. What I'm getting at is, my car stopped the other day. I couldn't understand why it had stopped. The guy says, "Well, it's the accelerator pedal, isn't it?" Well, where I come from, the accelerator pedal is connected to a rod that's connected to the carburetor. We're done. You know,
If it doesn't
not
work,
now.
a rod is broken, and you move in, you fix that rod.
Right, today
You gotta
on
know
my,
HTML
on my
today.
freaking Range Rover, it's an electronic sensor.
Yeah.
It's got wires going through the engine. There's no cables or anything.
More things to go wrong, more things to charge
To
you
go
to fix.
wrong, to annoy my wife, you know, what can I say? Tyler.
I miss the dial tone.
The dial tone.
The dial tone, and here's why. Because when phone communication was the mode of communication, you could actually talk to other human beings.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting there texting them, emailing
Oh,
them,
good point.
having face-to-face conversation,
Oh my
even if it's not
God.
like valid face-to-face, but hearing the tone, hearing the
Yeah.
inflection, actually having the guts
And
of someone to actually talk to
Talking
someone.
to customer support.
And just being able to talk to another human being. You,
I
you
just
look
miss
at the youth,
customer support.
You look at the youth today, they don't talk to each other, they text to each other. They
Yeah.
never talk to each other.
That's
I miss
true.
dial tone, that's what I miss.
I love it.
say there-
Mikey, what do you miss?
As far as technology, not a whole lot.
Not
I
just
can't.
technology, anything.
Cartoons. Cartoons of the early 90s
Cell
were the,
animation. Cell animation.
were the
Not 3D.
pinnacle of animation,
I
in
gotta
my
agree.
opinion.
I gotta go.
Holy
No,
crap, that's
Pinnacle
great.
was in the mid '80s, but that's
Late 80s, I think,
Doesn't
was.
matter. 20, 30,
you know,
40 years ago, whatever.
I
but-
love the late 80s cartoons, Dino Riders, Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light, stuff you can only watch on YouTube today.
Oh,
and,
that's great.
But
Kathleen, what do you miss?
Good point.
My figure?
Oh, come on. Well, how about, you know what? Tyler here illustrates perfectly what I miss. I miss album cover art. I love album cover art. I loved buying vinyl records or even CDs and looking at it. Somehow there was, it was connected. The music was connected to the cover. You're wearing, and I said this because you're wearing a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, just an emblematic,
Well, I got it.
incredible cover. So that's one of the things, many things I miss.
You're listening to Wednesday Night Undressed.com, recorded partially alive at Conroy's Pub and Emporium in Lawrence, Kansas. Wednesday Night Undressed.com. I can't do a Trump impersonation, but he said, close the borders. We don't have violence at our rallies. Well, no one's been hurt, and yet we can see violence on the TV. He said, the president should not be in Cuba or Argentina. He should be here running things. You know, people have just been killed in Brussels. I ask myself, as I moderate our podcast, am I missing something? I thought that Turnip didn't want the president running things. And what's more, Turnip's threatening riots if he doesn't get the nomination. I'm not an American. In England, we don't allow this sort of thing. In Bulgaria, they put you up against a wall.
Sure.
It's
Did you know? Oh, sorry. Did you know that there was a poll recently of the American people, and well over the half of the American public would like to punch Trump in the face?
I hadn't heard that
Yes.
one.
That's a good poll.
I saw something
Mikey, go
where
ahead.
some guy dressed up as Trump, and for $5 you could punch him in the face. Like, he went
That's a
to
great
rally.
business model.
Oh, I know what I'm doing
$5
this weekend to make some
I
money.
hope he had a face shield on and you were
Capitalism
wearing gloves.
He had a mask. He had
Okay,
a
that's
mask.
good.
So,
Are you sure that was not the real Trump?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, he needs some fundraising.
I don't know why he had to wear a mask then. Well, cover
So,
up his
Jeremy,
ugly Trump face.
I like this point, but I'm not sure what the point that the panel should be addressing is. Is the question whether or not Trump should be arrested? Is that where we want to start the conversation on this?
My concern as a foreigner is, I think, twofold. One is the riots thing.
Right.
Is this insinuation that there should be riots if I don't get what I want? And that he doesn't say anything. There are countless articles in countless different newspapers across America and Europe, and I imagine in Australia, on the island of Australia, that where he is, what's the word I'm looking for, where you write down what somebody said?
Transcript?
A transcript of a conversation with Trump. And he doesn't actually say something. It's almost as if his minders are saying, look, Mr. Trump, don't answer that question. Avoid everything.
specifics.
And
He's a salesman. That's the way
Well,
they talk.
not just
They
that.
don't
The
prove.
answer.
Exactly.
No, not just that. He's a politician, and it has traditionally
No,
been.
he's not.
No,
Yes, he
and
is.
that is the whole point. That's a
No,
very
he's
good
not.
point. Is that he made? You may not know this, but at the is it the Israeli or the Jewish forum on Monday, I guess, he made his first speech. And most people don't understand that, don't realise it, but it was in fact his very first speech of the campaign.
Right.
And he's working off an auto cue, and he kept going off script. If you understand how these things are done, you can see that he was going off script, and then he was coming back on, and he was going off and being Trump, and then he'd come back on his line.
Right.
And his minders must have been going crazy because he doesn't actually say anything. Now, if people may think he's going to be a great president and he'll change things. I'm not arguing that point. What I'm saying is, actually, if you transcribe what he says, you don't get anything. There he is now on Evo's phone.
Yes.
So, and what about the riots thing? You know,
Did he say that? Did he say
Yeah.
there will be
Yes.
riots?
Yes. Yeah.
So two things. I think that I'm sorry, I'm hijacking the conversation. I apologize. Two things. I think that to say that he is not a politician is wrong. I think that he has always been a politician. I
But
think
his
that,
sales pitch is that he's not a politician. That's his number one sales pitch.
No,
He's
I
running
agree.
for office. He's
I
a
agree,
politician.
Yeah. But no, I think that part of being a salesman is that you have to understand how to manipulate and motivate and repudiate people. So in that sense, he is a consummate politician. But to the riot question, I'm having a really, really difficult time understanding how he's not being arrested pretty much every time.
When you say things like, "Will someone punch that guy?"
I'll
I would
pay-
like
I'll
to
pay-
punch
I'll
him.
pay
I
your
will pay
legal-
your legal fees
You know,
if
you
you
guys-
assault these people.
You guys have danced around this throughout this whole conversation. The fact that he said there will be riots in the streets if I don't get the nomination. Do you really know what he was doing right there?
Yeah.
What he was doing, he was, if you rephrase that, he was telling the people who support him, he was telling them, go riot in the streets if I don't get the nomination. That's what he was.
It's not
That's what he
rioting,
was
it's called
doing. Hang on, hang on.
Inciting
Hang on.
Scavenging.
Hang on.
It's scavenging.
Hang on, but the fact is, a majority of Americans, they don't understand that.
Yeah.
And you see the rise of Donald Trump, and I'm not trying to say that he's.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
But you know what I'm going.
I hear you, Mr. Durden. Don't go there.
No, go there.
Yeah, go there. I'm confused now.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he didn't.
He's just like Uncle Adolf.
Yeah.
He's just like Uncle. So I'm serious.
Brits,
If you look at the rise of Adolf Hitler in the late 1920s, and you look at Trump and what he's doing right now, there's some frightening similarities.
Who was it
Frightening.
that said he was like Hitler without the charm?
the Germans, if you look at the
Me.
German media right now, German media are saying precisely this. A number of German people likened some of the things that happened last week or the week before last to Kristallnacht. You know, they're saying, you know, why aren't the Americans getting this? Because the Americans didn't get it in 1938 or 36.
Yeah.
Not to mention they'd like to keep us stupid so we don't actually change
we
the
are
failures of our
we are
society.
spoiled out of our minds here, and we don't understand real suffering around the world. Spoiled out of our minds. Everybody's a complainer. Everybody's whining. People screaming on the radio non-stop. All these think tank paid, personalities constantly scream, make people mad for why? It's not clear why. We have the lowest freaking unemployment rate in many, many years. You know, the country's doing really well economically. The price of gas is low. People are, oh my God, we are in the worst. Make America great again. What are you talking about? Have you lost your... And again, Trumpian society is just like the movie Idiocracy. Also, this self-promotion for some reason started paying off in this country. I can hardly tell the difference between Charlie Sheen, Donald Trump, and Kanye West. This is the same
One of them's
fucking
black.
person. The same person.
Yeah, self-promotion pays off.
And it's success.
Evo,
It's like,
self-promotion pays off. That's why you have things like Facebook.
well,
It's all about
Well, I have asked
self-promotion.
this question, and it is going off the line, and I hope our listeners will forgive me for this, but who or what is a Kardashian?
Yeah.
it's a sweater, isn't it?
No, this is
thought it was,
again.
yeah.
This is
You know what?
Well, something off
very
the
The fact that you
frustrating.
don't know, you should just be happy that you don't know.
I'll go back to
it's
being a dodo.
frustrating to me that
Ignorance is bliss in this
that
instance.
Kanye or Charlie Sheen or even Donald Trump for that matter is somehow seen as less intelligent for being able to manipulate the masses so effectively.
Because they have no talent. And
They
Kardashian
have
has no
obvious
talent.
talent.
Well, Kardashian is nothing more than the marketing director of her own ass.
That's still a talent.
Still, that is a talent.
It's a
Not
bad
only is that
talent, but it's a
she
talent.
might be the most wealthy person,
Exactly.
specifically from a body part in the history of humanity.
Dude, if we're going to talk about body parts and
No, I can't claim that stuff.
whatever it is, all right.
Her only talent,
She's
as far
certainly
as
got
we
a very
know,
big USB
is amateur
port.
porno. And that's how she got her big
That's the
break.
only. That's the
Yes,
only.
but how many people prior to that had made pornos? How many people prior to that had been able to successfully parlay a porno into a multi-million, if not billion-dollar industry?
I don't know.
I suspect you'll find that it's actually a multi. It may be, I bet you, it may be a multi-million industry. I doubt it's billions, and I reckon that if you sent an accountant in to go through their books and actually look at what they've got in the piggy bank, you'll find all the cars are leased.
Did you just challenge me?
I bet you'll find the cars are leased, the houses are rented.
Make my day.
You know,
And which
it's
one is
not-
Tuco?
It's not real.
Okay, I don't happen to know the Kardashian accountant, so I can't really disagree with that opinion.
I heard
But
she's worth $1 billion.
Well, I know that her app. She released an app on the iPhone that made $100 million. Like,
What?
yeah,
Really?
it is one of the
What
most
does it do?
successful.
Like measures
It
your
allows you
It's gotta be worth
to. It allows you to make up your virtual paper doll and go buy the fashions when you're done.
Oh my.
To be worth $1 billion today is very, very difficult.
I'll do some research real quick.
Again, this is my point. Like, there are people that this table would consider to have no talent that are worth more than what we could conceivably dream of, and that is somehow dismissive when I think it's unnecessary and
If Kanye West was
short-sighted.
born before autotune was invented, he would be just a complete disaster. This guy cannot sing a single note. He's unbearable. Trying
almost
Well, he
never
might have-
classified himself as
I was
a singer.
totally wrong. 85 million is her net worth. net worth.
85 million?
Yeah, I don't know what the
Jeez.
hell I was thinking.
Oh my gosh.
But again,
Sadness.
if we were to take her to Bulgaria, you'd stuff her on the end of a spike, wouldn't you?
It's
You'd
so-
have her up on the castle on the end of a spike.
I will choose not to respond to this, but it's
It depends how you define
Your
the word
uncle,
spike.
your uncle
Somebody's
Vlad,
probably already done that on the internet with
your,
Photoshop and
your
et
uncle
cetera.
Vlad,
So.
he'd have her on the end of a spike, wouldn't he? No trouble. Then he'd go off and have
What if
breakfast.
they just drain her blood and take a bath in it to keep their youthful appearance? That's what I imagine would happen.
okay.
You're listening to Wednesday Night Undressed.com, recorded partially alive at Conroy's Emporium in Lawrence, Kansas. Wednesday Night Undressed.com. With 8 months to go before the general election, I have a question. And I'd ask the panel to try and be nice. Try and play nicely with this one.
To who?
I hope not to him.
With 8 months to go before the general election, are the Republicans right to refuse a Supreme Court nominee that in fact they have effectively already approved? At what point do the Republicans feel the president should not nominate? 8 months out, they feel is too late. So what about 12 months out? Would that be okay? Or even 18 or 24 months out? Or is Obama actually being rather crafty, Louis Orlando?
I think that the Republicans feel that the president should not be allowed to make a nominee as long as he's black.
Or Democrat.
Yep.
Or Bulgarian?
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah.
run the office
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. One question: if this was a Republican president, how fast do you think he's going? I mean, they would be giddy that there's an opening on the Supreme Court. It's ridiculous. They're saying, let the American people speak. They have spoken. They've elected
Twice.
this president twice.
2014, 2012.
Yeah. So freaking shut your mouth, suffer the consequences of being lame and horrible, and allow the guy to nominate a Supreme Court justice. And on top of it, he nominated a right of center Supreme Court.
Tyler?
What's really sad is they're sitting there having this whole argument, and the Republicans are sitting here blocking this, and no one really seems to understand the Republicans are defeating the entire purpose of what the Supreme Court is. If you have a court that's going to be basically split 4 and 4,
Yeah.
nothing will get done,
Yeah.
no matter how long you wait. So you should be able to nominate someone immediately. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your party is. It's the damn Supreme Court. It has to have a number of 9 to make it work effectively.
Yep.
Or we
Good point.
get rid of another one.
But they want an extreme to the extreme right
Yeah.
justice, so they can continue coming up with Citizens United's decisions, or if he wants to preserve his Obamacare, everything that, or his advances on immigration or gay rights, he needs to nominate a liberal judge, and take advantage of his presidency.
This is why I said, is Obama being rather crafty here, Louis Orlando?
Okay, I just want to address the short-sightedness I feel that is coming from my friends here at the table. There is this notion that these damn Republicans are just standing in the way of progress, when the truth of the matter is Obama himself and Joe Biden did the same thing when they were looking at a Republican president nominating a Supreme
Sure,
Court
he
justice.
voted
Louis, it's not
against-
short-sightedness. Any politician, I don't care what party you're with.
I'm
You're talking
with
about in our
that.
two-party system.
I am completely
They all
with that, yeah.
defeat the system because
Exactly.
it's all party
okay.
politics.
That's the point that's the only point that I wanted to make here. Outside of that, I think you guys are right. It is troublesome when I hear the notion of these damn Republicans doing this thing that everybody does.
Yeah,
The problem is the
obstructionism.
political system, not the individual
Exactly.
And the
politicians
excuses.
themselves.
Did anybody catch Al Franken's takedown of his Senate
No.
colleagues?
No.
It's hilarious. You've got to look it up. He talked about, he used his background in comedy and talked about, right, you want the people to decide. Well, I thought they did when they elected a president. However, if you want the people to decide by saying they should elect the next president, but then you say, but if we don't like the next president, then we'll decide.
Yeah.
It's totally absurd. And he went. They looked absolutely stunned.
It's like a kindergarten, it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of children and bickering, and it's ridiculous. You're right. I mean, Obama himself and Biden were obstructionists when W nominated. They twice voted against any kind of conservative nomination, And there's another one coming up because it wasn't. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I think that is the difference in what we're seeing.
They actually heard the nomination.
I think that there's a drastic difference in the behavior of what we're seeing the Republican Party doing right now versus what we saw the Democrats
versus
do.
the more conventional behavior.
Exactly. We saw a following of protocol and an ultimate, dismissal or vote against, however you want to say it. Whereas right now we're having this out of pocket, out of hand, because you're we're not going to listen to what you say. And I think that is. I
And
think
they
that should be
haven't
punishable.
learned their lesson. What do you think led to the rise of Donald Trump in the first place? The Republicans becoming completely obtuse about listening to what people wanted the country to be governed. They didn't want people to say no to everything. They didn't want Obama demonized, or maybe they did, but demonizing him and making this whole false narrative is what exactly gave rise to Trump now.
You're missing the bigger picture. That's not what gave the rise to Donald Trump. What gave the rise to Donald Trump is our entire system. The whole system, as if you think about it, I don't care. You're kind of putting blame on the Republicans.
Oh, I like
don't
to
think
do
you
that.
can blame the Republicans or the Democrats. You look at the failure of our system, and just the failure of things like the Electoral College. Because as citizens, how many of us actually feel like our vote really counts?
I don't think that was necessarily looking at me when you said as citizens.
But again,
What's up, buddy?
it is really depressing. You're right. The whole system
is broken. That's why he is able to do what he's going to do.
Well, and probably it's going to take
the
some
downfall
more
of the
breaking
empire.
before we get to the point where we finally join together and fix it.
Tyler, you just
Hopefully
said
that'll
what
happen.
he's
Yeah.
what he's
in a sense, that's why Trump is kind of, I hate to say this, but he almost in a sense is a necessary evil to make people go, wow, our system's really fucked up. We got to fix this.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But you'll find that if you read your history, as I know you do, there were a lot of Germans saying that
I
in the
know.
late 30s.
education, man. It's just stunning to me that educated people can follow this man, and it's really. I think this line, this quote, will become legendary. We love the uneducated. Remember this? He said, "We love the uneducated." Yes, you do, buddy. You do, and we have to work on this, educating people
and that's
to think
why
for
I
themselves.
say it's the result of the Republicans' policies. They have made no secret of the fact that they target the low information
But so
voter.
did the Democrats, because any
No.
elitist,
not in the same way. Not in the
any-
same way.
yeah.
That Southern Democrat
Wrong.
strategy.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. The difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans, they're going to screw you, and they're just going to look right in your face and be like, "Yeah, I'm screwing you. Suck it." The Democrats, they're going to shake your hand and tell you they're your friend while they're screwing you. That's the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, but that's the way to do it.
That's a
been
very bizarre
described-
sex act.
It's been
When
described
we talking about porno earlier?
that a Republican
You know that's what you really want.
are your best enemy. Democrats are your crappiest friend.
Right. I like it. I like it a lot.
You're listening to Wednesday Night Undressed.com, recorded partially live at Conroy's Pub and Emporium in Lawrence, Kansas. Wednesday Night Undressed.com wants to say, Je suis Brussels. We want to say Je suis Brussels. We want to be aware of what happened in Brussels recently. We don't want to go there too much at the moment, but we do want to recognize the tragedy that happened in Brussels
Agreed.
the other day.
Yep.
We have touched on the FBI and its case against Apple, and a few days ago it was announced that maybe the FBI are not actually going to have to go against Apple and force it to unlock a terrorist's iPhone, and particularly in the light of what happened in Brussels, they found out that one of the guys literally had 20 or 30 burner iPhones ready to go. But I ask what would happen if the case went ahead and Apple loses to the FBI. A former White House technologist envisions a future in which Apple loses its privacy battle. The year's 2026, you get in your new Tesla for the milk run. The car on its own pulls out of the garage while you scroll through live streams broadcast by your friends on whatever app has succeeded Instagram. The door's locked, the car passes the convenience store and the dairy aisle, and instead of stopping when it should do, it makes a couple of lefts and a right and pulls up in front of the police station. The cops are waiting outside. They had a judge make the Tesla update your car's self-driving software to lock the doors and deliver you to the local precinct because you look a bit like a guy caught on a surveillance camera. Does your water meter report you to the local Public Utilities Commission if you're illegally watering your lawn on a Tuesday? It will. Does your cell phone call your health insurer provider if its GPS coordinates indicate you just entered a tobacco shop? It will. Does your toilet report you to the doctor when you're not getting enough fiber in your diet? It will. Americans are connecting more and more of their devices, their refrigerators, their thermostats, their cars, their door locks to the internet. At a recent security conference in San Francisco, several leading cryptographers and programmers and mathematicians pondered on the deeper meanings of the Apple case. You know, it may be a far-out spy trick today, but those far-out spy tricks have a history of becoming a tool for police departments a few years later.
Isn't the word for this the Internet of Things?
In the description that Jeremy just gave about how everyday devices now have a connection to databases somewhere, that's exactly the Internet of Things. It's completely unregulated. Different entities store information on you that you have no control over, and decisions are currently being made influencing your life that you have no influence over outside of this potentially erroneous database system.
And I don't worry about the government. I worry about everybody else hacking into my refrigerator or my thermostat and, changing my settings.
Data miners.
Speaking of which, you need new ice cream.
What?
Speaking of which, you need new ice cream.
You need more ice cream.
We're concerned. There's no chocolate chip anymore.
It's
Mikey.
expired.
Now we know why you
We're going to
don't
call
have
your
a
insurance
phone,
company.
yeah.
Well, like, for example, there are, I believe that if things get tied to, for example, if you have government insurance, if you have Medicare, Medicaid, I believe that tracking your coordinates into unhealthy environments would be an unreasonable breach of privacy. People do have a reasonable right to privacy.
How do you define reasonable, and who defines reasonable?
Well, I think Roe v. Wade defined it pretty well.
If that
Well,
stands
Fourth
in
Amendment
10
defines
years.
it pretty well.
Fourth Amendment defines it pretty well. For example, if I'm a woman and I do not want my insurance to know a
God, you'd
certain...
be an ugly woman if you were a woman.
I don't know.
I think I'd have better hair, that's for sure. I'd have a lot better hair. Come to think of
The
it,
legs are awful.
I shaved them. They're
This is weird.
I do think that if some things connect to certain aspects of your life and invade into certain aspects of your life, it's considered a unreasonable breach of privacy.
You mean like if the government were to, say, for instance, unlock your phone?
Depends if they have a warrant to do so. If they have a warrant to do so because you killed a bunch of people and you're already dead,
Right.
I don't think you have any reasonable rights to privacy after you're dead.
No,
Once
no.
you're dead,
I
you don't
agree.
have
Well-
the right to privacy.
I'm not sure that I agree
That's
with that.
it's not a privacy issue. It's a electronic, device security issue. Because the phone from the San Bernardino shootings was not his; it was his company's, and they gave permission to get into the phone.
Oh, okay.
The feds just didn't know how to get into
do
it,
it.
and they wanted the government. They
beautiful.
wanted the judge to rule
Since they
Apple to
fucked
break
up the
their own
Yeah.
phone.
And here's the thing, Apple has done this in the past, 7 times in the past before, from what I understand.
Again, the question was never whether or not Apple could get into the phone. What the FBI asked for was
the back door.
a back door built into the OS that they could get into the phone.
And that's what the FBI contends that no, we aren't asking for a back door. Apple is saying, yeah, that's kind of what you're asking
No,
for because you just don't understand how these phones work.
Well, as
I
Tyler
think it was
put
a
it
little-
so aptly, that what they clearly wanted was a USB port.
Really.
Where can I find one?
or a back door or both.
What you guys are kind of what you guys are kind of missing when you think about the larger picture issue here. Okay, so Jeremy, you're talking about how people are willing to give technology to their phones, what have you, to turn things on, like their heating, their lights, what have you. So as a species, as we are more and more and more willing to give control to our devices, basically what you were talking about is the species that existed in the movie WALL-E. And I know that sounds kind of odd, but if you think about it, that's all it was. We just gave control away completely, And that's what our species is slowly gravitating towards, is we are sitting here and we're willing to just give away control over everything and just put everything out in the cloud thinking that everything's safe.
I'm not feeling like that it's a apples to apples comparison. I think that
No,
the
I'm not
notion-
saying it is. I'm saying this is how it starts.
Well, I'm not even sure that where we are ends up within Wall-E. I'm thinking that where we start ends up much more in Brave New World territory than Wall-E. I think that our and please, everybody understand that I'm saying this with a smartwatch on my wrist, a phone in my pocket, a tablet in my hand. But I think that that technology definitely is currently our soma, and it lulls us into a sense of not being aware of everything that's around us.
We
But it's
have
not
a
prescribed.
rule. We have a rule on Conroy's, and that is that geek speak is not allowed.
I'm sorry.
What does arsoma mean?
That wasn't geek speak. That was literary speak. That is a reference to the drug in Brave New World that they fed the masses that kept them docile and under control.
But Lewis,
Well, it
but
wasn't
Lewis,
Have some more beer.
Yeah.
Lewis, think
Everybody was
about it,
taking
man.
drugs in Brave New World.
Can't technology become a drug?
No, that is exactly my point. That it is functioning right now
But
as
that's,
that way.
that's kind of what it is right now. It's becoming a drug, and we are fully accepting
If
it.
I may be so bold,
No.
my learned friend, I'm not so much sure that it's a drug, more an addiction.
You know, you guys,
It's kind of one of the same.
you shouldn't forget that this is a great marketing opportunity for Apple as well, and it's a lot of it is business as well, because they had the opportunity to show the world how impenetrable they are, and for Tim Cook to go and say, "Hey, CIA, FBI, you know." Bitches, you know, go read the Bible.
stick where the
Go
sun
read
don't
the
shine.
Bible, bitches. The apple's the forbidden fruit. You know, go take that.
No, I don't. Well, this way, I don't think that is. I think that is parallel to the point about security, but I don't think that it takes away from.
Yeah.
I think that it is without question the best possible marketing that Apple could have.
Oh, great, yeah.
Like there's a company called Life Secure or LifeLock maybe, where the owner of the company basically
LifeLock.
Advertisers.
gave his social security number and like dared hackers to
stick a gigabyte in the back door of his USB.
yeah. And this
So descriptive.
This is so weird.
and this is Apple's organic opportunity to do the same with their encryption on their phone.
getting
I'm
a little
not
blue in
denying that
here.
at all. However, there is a direct analogy that can be made to what the FBI is asking, and again, 1984. I know not the same novel, but in the same vein. We're talking about mass governmental surveillance of their populace, and to ignore that, I think, is facile.
Well, I want to move on. I just want you to think about this, Lewis. Your very lovely daughter, and she is gorgeous and very bright,
Watch it, Jeremy.
is working in the White House
It's not with Bill Clinton.
in 12 years' time. 12 or 15 years' time. She's a specialist on IT. She's working in the White House. And there's a Tesla heading towards the White House. It's full of explosives, dirty
Holy
bomb.
fuck! It's the
Tesla.
goddamn terrorist with
They drive Volvos.
and it's self.
It's a terrorist
I
mobile.
use the artillery on top of the White House to shoot at it.
It is self-driving, and because of a vote you made, the
vote that
Secret
I wouldn't
Service,
make.
the Secret Service are unable to stop that vehicle.
I would just call Jack Bauer, have him take care of it.
An EMP
The
will
spikes
stop
to
it. I'm sure they have
the tires
EMPs.
don't
Yeah.
work. The other methods they have to stop vehicles at the White House don't work. I mean, it's
No. I get there's all kinds of like caveats that you have to make in the what ifs. I get it. The notion is people are gonna be shits sometimes. There's absolutely no way.
Sometimes?
Well, there is the
people
occasional
are-
time that
some people are evil.
people are nice. Yeah, there's I can't remember who said it. Somebody just recently said, "Oh, it's our friend John." He said, 80% of the world is great, 20% of the world absolutely sucks, and the 20% that absolutely sucks are kind of driving the behavior of the other 80%.
No, it's been said that there are only a few really, really evil people in the world. They just move around a lot.
No, I get it. No, I get it. So, the notion
Mary
that I want to somehow limit what everybody else can do because of the notion that there's this one guy that might make a stupid ass, evil, dumb, or silly play, and I want to legislate at the level where I have to moderate that guy or moderate everybody else's behavior because that one guy is an asshole. I don't want to be there. I just don't.
I mean, if you think that way, you might ban all flights of
You
all
might
time.
ban, Crisco.
Yeah.
You could ban pretty much. You can legislate
But
the
there are
life
some
out
good
of living.
outcomes.
Well, but again, that's just my
But
notion.
when I need to move on because it is Dr. Orlando's time for the word, I just want to leave you with the thought that James Bond movies always have a baddie, and is Mr. Turnip that baddie? I now hand us over very quietly and sedately to Dr. Orlando for the word.
Brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today for the word.
I'm in.
Hallelujah! Oh yeah!
That's not creepy.
Here I is! I hear! Hallelujah!
Oh, new day. Oh, new word.
It's getting weird
Oh,
here.
new day, new word.
All right,
I'd like to teach the... Okay.
today's new word is quail. And although you may think that this is a bird, this
It's a
is
vice president.
This is closer to a vice president.
Yeah.
Quaile, quail,
Whaley.
or quaily if you're British.
Yeah.
Okay, so our options for a definition today are an adjective meaning corporeal or existing in this plane,
Okay.
a noun meaning a subjective experience or perceived quality perceived by a person, or 3, a verb showing or feeling fear.
You forgot one.
Yeah.
No, these
It means the same as something else to a dyslexic person.
I could get behind that,
Yeah.
but I'm going to stick with these 3 right now. So we have either.
I know what it is.
Well, that's not fair.
I
You
know
just
what it
shut
is.
your damn British mouth.
I know what it is.
Yes. More of that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So we got a meaning corporeal or existing on this plane. We got a subjective experience or quality perceived by a person, or to show fear or to feel fear.
I
What
gotta go
does-
with my gut and say it's 3.
It's 3
Yeah,
showing or
that's what
feeling
I was
fear.
thinking.
I'm gonna go with 1.
You're going with 1.
Yep.
To qual
Corporeal
is to
or
exist.
No,
Two.
qual
It's
for
Cass is
quality.
2.
A
Mr.
subjective
Ivanov?
Qualify.
Mr.
3.
Ivanov? You're 3.
I'm going to go with 3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
3.
The answer is number 2.
Oh,
A
rats.
subjective experience or
But
quality perceived by a person.
I thought the word quality kind of threw me off. That was like a trick question. It's like, it can't have half the word in it.
Nope. That is it.
Wow.
You're listening to Wednesday Night Undressed.com, recorded partially live at Conroy's Pub and Emporium in Lawrence, Kansas. We want to again thank our panel tonight, the Undressed panel. Of course, as I said, back from his castle in the Bulgarian mountain ranges, the Lord of Pheromones,
Yes.
Count Ivo Ivanov.
Oh, yes.
The Mystery of Scary Intelligence, Kathleen Taylor, international consultant on interesting to the most interesting people of the world, Dr. Orlando. Chris Magerkurth, who in fact is a German aerospace engineer working on the rover project in Tonganoxie. Our stand-up comedian, Mikey's with us again. And of course, Tyler Durden, who's trying hard to get over his recent upset with Ronda Rousey.
Do better as a species.
You've been listening to Wednesday Night Undressed.com.
Woo!
Au revoir.